The Screech bass, or as some call it, the laser bass, is pretty much synonymous nowadays with the more commercial forms of dubstep and brostep. As is the case with many dubstep basses, it serves more as a lead than a bass. It's hard to say when it first appeared, but Skrillex was definitely an early proponent. Most producers will agree that the Screech bass was probably first created with Native Instruments FM8, staple of dubstep producers everywhere. Now, as it turns out, Retro's FM synth engine is actually perfectly suited to recreate this sound. And it sounds like this. I've put together a quick and dirty 4-bar dubstep loop, just to put it in perspective. So then, how do we make a Screech bass in Retro? Well, it's actually a fairly simple sound to recreate, so let's get into it. We're going to start off with a new instance of Retro. And new instances always open with the factory default setting. First off, we'll switch to the FM engine. Okay. We'll start with the oscillator. FM we'll leave as is. Harmonic we'll crank all the way up to 1. And inharmonic down to 0. Shape will also crank all the way up to 1. And mix slightly in favour of the modulator, about 0.75. Okay, moving on, the filter section. We'll leave the filter at the default 24 dB low pass, but adjust the cutoff all the way out to 1. Key follow all the way up, and envelope all the way to 1. The filter envelope will adjust slightly, not really for the sound, but to avoid any sharp clicks we may get when playing short arpeggiated notes. Now, the amplitude envelope is not really that crucial to the sound in this case, so we'll just even it out. So the key element to the Screech bass is this section here. We're going to switch to auto bend. Set time to around 27 milliseconds, and depth to -36 semitones. Let's adjust the global transpose before moving on. Not crucial, just for my convenience really. Okay, that's better. We're not using the LFO in this patch, but we do need Vibrato, which is basically a dedicated pitch LFO, which we control with a mod wheel. We'll set the rate to 1/8 with the sync switch on, and increase vibrato amount in the oscillator section to about 0.88 semitones. Great, now it's sounding like a Screech bass. Let's adjust the master volume a bit, and add about 50% of the sine wave oscillator to thicken the low end a bit. The amount of sine you add to your sound is really dependent on your track. There's really no point in using it if you're going to cut the low end in the mix and add in a separate sine bass, for example. So I generally use it just for the purpose of auditioning the sound, and often reduce its level later on. And that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, let's go back into the settings once more and set voices to mono. Okay, great. So there you have it, the Dubstep Screech bass. Now, if we take a look at this track here, with my example bass line and the exact same Screech bass patch, you'll see I'm also using Space Designer. I'm using one of the large room presets, just to sit it in the track a bit. Nothing special. For the MIDI part itself, I've drawn in some pitch bend, for that distinctive pitch drop-off, and some modulation or vibrato. So now you know how it's put together, let's have one more listen. Nice. Okay, on to the next.